Tens of thousands of migrants that have made their way into this country have come to New York, putting a strain on some of the city's services. Joining us to talk about that and so much more, New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Mayor, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. It's great to see you. Let's talk about the migrant crisis. And let me just ask you frankly, who do you blame for what's happening here?
Well, I think that the goal is not so much pointing to blame, and this blame can go around in so many different sectors, is how do we solve the problem? 177,000 migrants and asylum seekers have found their way to New York City. And I think there's a clear way that we can solve this problem. Number one, we need a real decompression strategy to allow this to go throughout the entire country. And number two, we need to allow people to work. What is more the American dream than the right to work? You cannot prevent that if we want people to take the next step in their journey.
But tell us about the battle that's been happening between the city of New York, the state of New York, and Washington. You all, plus CEOs in this city, have called for federal funding from the White House, and that call has not been returned.
Well, actually, when you look at it, a real coalition has developed. You look at what's taking place in Chicago, Denver, Houston, Washington, D.C., and other local municipalities, El Paso, Texas. No city should have to carry the load of the migrant and asylum seeker crisis. It's a national problem. The long term is having a real immigration reform that's taking place, but immediately we need to have the proper funding because it is impacting all of our cities at this time economically.
There's a historical issue here, though, to talk about, which is the sanctuary city status that New York has or has had, something that you are now trying to change. Can you speak to that?
Well, we believe in the sanctuary city status. Immigrants that are here should be allowed to continue to move forward in their lives. We're talking about a specific part of it that was changed under the previous administration. From the days of Mayor Koch and Mayor Bloomberg, there was a clear indicator for those who commit serious crimes in the city. They should be able to be deported after they serve their time. And I continue to believe that as a former police officer. We have the job of to apprehend those who commit crimes. The prosecutors prosecute, and I think the federal government should use this authority after the time is served to deport the individual. Dangerous people, no matter if they're migrants and asylum seekers or long-term New Yorkers, should not be carrying out violent acts on New Yorkers. And the overwhelming number of migrants and asylum seekers here are trying to take that next step, but there is a small number that are violent and they're dangerous.
You spoke earlier about the idea of having these migrants work in New York and giving them an opportunity to work. Have you ever thought of just doing it on your own at this point?
We would love to. Trust me, I've turned over every legal stone to see how we can go about doing it. But if we do it, we could expose ourselves to violating federal laws as well as the city being sanctioned. And would you believe I cannot even allow migrants to volunteer and give them a stipend? If I wanted them just to clean up in the areas where they are staying, that's not allowed to do. When you think about this, this strikes at the heart of who we are as a country. All of our immigrants that have come to this city, all of us in this country, we had the authorization to work and earn our rights to be here. And that's all the migrants and asylum seekers are asking for.
But one of the things you are doing is an experimental program to provide debit cards with cash on the card. This has created enormous controversy in the city among some taxpayers who say, why are we paying and giving out this money to these migrants? And isn't this only going to encourage more migrants to come to New York?
And the reason it's creating such controversy is because how it has been reported and distorted. Here's what we're doing. We are required to feed migrants and asylum seekers as well as everyone else in our homeless system. About 40,000 are in the homeless system that are not migrant and asylum seekers. We're required to feed them. And so what I told the team to do is we have to find a way to do it that's less costly, because we want a 30% decrease in the cost of the migrant crisis, and that we don't have food waste. We were able to do that. We're saving approximately $600,000 a month, $7.2 million a year by giving individuals a card that allows them to buy food or baby supplies, spending $13 a day on food. That's cheaper. That's less food waste. This is a real win-win for us. And the money will go into the local economy because now we go into the local stores, supermarkets, where we're going to hire local. This is a smart way to bring down the cost and replace the money back into our city.
Mayor, a very direct and political question. When you look at President Biden, you look at former President Trump, and you look at the migrant crisis that you are facing,
well, I think
which one do you believe will ultimately help you solve that crisis faster?
I'm a supporter of the president, and I think when you do an analysis of this issue of immigration, this is an issue that has been played out too long on the political stage of our country. It has to be resolved. It's one of the top issues that voters are looking at. I think that we can solve it now by taking some very clear steps, such as the decompression strategy, funding these cities, allowing migrants and asylum seekers to work. We did almost 25,000 with work authorization and TPS. When it was recently expanded, we can go even further to some of the other cities and municipalities.
Mr. Mayor, I've seen you can imagine it's been dredged up from 2019, and it was President Biden basically sounded like something from the Statue of Liberty. Bring us your tired messes. This is why we're here. If you want to come here for a better life, come here. We want you to come. Then he rescinded, 90 executive orders. At that time. I mean, it's clear where the 7.2 million, I think we can at least ascribe some cause and effect to those comments and getting rid of all the executive orders. Do you think the president could reinstitute, put some of those executive orders with the sign of a pen back on, and would that help? Would you urge him to do that to help your situation?
The most important thing I believe we could do during this crisis is allow people to work. Everyone who passed through the Statue of Liberty came here, and even if it was a menial job, it gave them the dignity and respect that everyone that here deserves. Think about it for a moment. Do you know we don't even hear about the Ukrainian citizens that arrived here? We have a large Ukrainian population after the war that's here in New York City. You don't hear about them. You know why? They have the authorization to work. We gave them the financial support that they deserve. We did the right thing for them. We should do the same for those who are coming from South, Central America, and other parts of the globe. That consistency will resolve this issue that we're facing.